Hey everyone, Edwin here. In this video, I'll show you step by step how to build a custom AI document chatbot that can read and understand any long and complicated documents instantly. This AI can answer questions like, are there any hidden terms and conditions in this contract? What's the contract termination clause, etc. Questions that normally take forever to find buried in lengthy documents or require expensive legal consultations. Here's the gameplay. First, I'll show you a quick demo of this AI answering complex contract questions in seconds. Then, I'll show you how to build it live step by step using a no-code platform called Flowise, requiring zero coding experience. Finally, I'll review some of the limitations of these demo versions and show you how to think about extending this into a production-ready situation for your business. If you're tired of wasting hours digging through documents, this video will change your life forever. Now, if you're new to this channel, let me quickly explain why I'm qualified to teach AI chatbot to you. My name is Edwin Chen and I'm an Oxford graduate with maths background, and around Christmas of last year, I started my own AI agency, Legacy AI, where we're helping 20 different small to medium enterprises building different conversational AI systems like the one you see in this video, ranging from travel agencies to restaurants, etc. We are also VoiceFlow certified experts, which is a local platform to build these AI agents. So you're actually learning from someone who's done it before in the real world, not just theory. Now, without further ado, let's dig in. And we're imagining a use case where, we have a complicated document like a contract, imagining with a property buying contract where the seller, in this case, Transport for London, they're trying to sell land, right, at Bridgefield, London, and we are the buyers. We're a company that's trying to buy this land. You can probably imagine if you're a property manager or if you're the team working for this buyer company, you probably need access to this contract and you need to reference to it quite a lot. And there's a lot of information such as like the details of the contract, is there any hidden term, what the contract rate looks like, what is kind of guarantees, etc. Right? There's a lot of information that needs to be processed by the teams that they need to reference to. And two things, if you have, a team that is dedicated for this specific project, you definitely want them to have access to this contract. But when they're working on the projects, they definitely need to reference information from this contract by quite a lot. And we don't want the team to be like pinging new questions or pinging the legal team all the time about specific terms and conditions, right? Or you don't want them to just read through the documents every time they want to extract some information, right? It's going to take like forever. And the way to do that, right, is one of the reasons why we want to build this chatbot that can have instant access and provide accurate information specific about this contract. And same if you're a project manager. You can extend this to pretty much like in-house legal team, any basically members working on this project together. Now, imagine I can just kind of show you a quick demo of this chatbot. Imagine this is the interface for this chatbot for the internal team to use. Maybe I'll just say if you're someone who's just on board, who's new to the team, they can just be like asking, please summarize this contract. And it's going to go ahead and say, this contract is a property sale and purchase agreement, current key points, these are key points summary. And the good thing is, it's not just making these things up, right? Because you can actually see the citations that it's used, right? It's citation from this function, J, any obligation or party not to do something, including obligation not to do that, right? So it basically references different parts of this contract to generate this answer. So you can always double check whether the answer is correct by going through this chunk, going through this citation, and actually look through them yourself. You can also ask questions like, what's the contract rate, right? And it will say the contract rate is 4% above the Barclays Bank PLC base rate, which is correct because if you look at the contract, right, it's exactly 4% above, right, which is exactly what the contract says. And now if you're imagining a use case as well, where if you imagine like when we're buying land, there's sort of acquisition cost, you probably have some sort of Excel sheet. Obviously, it's going to be much more complicated than this, but I'm just showing this as an example where you can have different costs, the price associated with this purchase. And oftentimes, what you found is that you actually want to work on a project that, that can reference this kind of acquisition cost as part of the context, right, as well as the contract itself. So how do you do that? Well, I can just upload this document actually directly into this chatbot, and I can just easily ask it once it's uploaded, and be like, what's the cost breakdown looks like for this project, right? And it's going to go ahead and actually break down all the different prices, etc. that can take into context as well as the contract itself. So you can see how it's actually a really useful internal tool for the team to use, this custom chatbot, internal chatbot. Now, you may be asking, but why can't I just use ChatGPT? Right? Why can't I just upload everything to ChatGPT and just call it a day? Why do I need to build this custom chatbot, this fancy custom chatbot? Well, few reasons. First reason, really, is because a lot of the ChatGPT is actually trained on general information. So they have a lot of internet data that's been trained on, and that's how ChatGPT got this training data on. And it's very good at providing very general information, but you actually want to control the output of this chatbot. As an example, you actually want this to be an accurate chatbot with the sole purpose of this chatbot is to provide information and help your teammates working on this project. It's like an assistant specific for this project. Whereas ChatGPT is very generic, it doesn't have context of this project, and it will provide some general advice not specific for this project. And in fact, you want this tool to be 100% accurate. Like, don't want it to be misleading, etc. Right? So that's why you want to build something more custom chatbot like this one. Second reason is if you were to upload the contract directly in ChatGPT, well, you need to upload this every time for a new ChatGPT session. Whereas in our case, you just need to upload the document once. Well, it would be saved in a database called vector database, which I'll guide you through step by step how to set this up later on, right? And you just need to do it once, and it will forever, if you go back to this chatbot next year, 10 years from now, next month, you'll always remember that contract, essentially. So that's the second reason why you do it. The third reason is a lot of the time, you actually don't want to pass your sensitive data, which a lot of the time this contract is extremely confidential. And there's laws that you don't want it to pass through to ChatGPT, which will use your data to train on their models, which you don't want them to have access to your data, right? So it's confidential data. You don't want this kind of questions or this kind of output to be passed to OpenAI or other AI companies. You want it to be completely in-house confidential. That's exactly why you would want to develop in-house AI tool like this one for your own company specifically, right? So let me talk you through how to actually build this. But before I do that, very quickly, if you don't want to follow along and you just want something similar to set up for your business straight away, you're more than welcome to book a completely free 30 minutes consultation call with me and my team, where we can have a deep dive into your specific business and see where some of the gaps where AI could come in to help your company. And we can also help implement these systems for your company as well. But without further ado, let's actually go to the website that we're going to be building this chatbot on. And the tool that we're going to build this chatbot on is called Flowise. So let me actually just go back to the main page, actually. I think that will help you guys a lot. Flowise, which is a local platform to actually build these AI agents without writing any code, and you can see it's drag and drop interface, very visual interface, so you can see exactly what's going on when you build these AI agents. And the advantage of this tool over other AI tools is that it's actually open source. That means that if you go to their GitHub, which is a collection of the code behind this tool, you can actually see the source code, and you can also actually host it yourself. So you can just follow this instruction and actually run it on your local machine. So you don't have to rely on the cloud. Of course, you can. If you want a very simple setup, you can definitely actually host it yourself. Host it on their cloud platform, which you'll pay a monthly fee. Or if you want to do it yourself, you can host it yourself for free. It's actually all at very, very, very low cost. So, but for now, for this video, I'm just gonna basically go through the cloud hosting website because it's the easiest to set up, and I can show you how to build a simple chatbot from there. So for now, let's actually go click on Get Started. And by the way, very quickly, if you didn't know, Flowise just got quite worked. This is a small things to kind of point out. Get started, and you will want to create your own account. And I already have my own account, so I'm just gonna create it. So within here, you can see that in Flowise, there are three main ways you can build these AI agents. The first and most important, easiest way is assistant, where you can create your own OpenAI assistant. It's the easiest way you set it up, but you have least control over it. I generally don't recommend it unless you want to literally have some very, very, very simple use case. The second way is Chatflow. Think of Chatflow as a workflow system where you can set up a chain of different LLM workflows, where you're thinking of a very simple use case, or if you're building just within one agent and there's no collaboration between different agents, you just want a kind of simple use case, you want a very structured workflow, right? You want if this, then do this happen, then do this, then this, then this, then this, then this. It's very linear, right? It's very kind of structured, logical workflow. That's where you would build this Chatflow. But the easier way to do it is actually for agent flow. And within agent flow, you can absolutely build just one single agent, or you can build different agents where different agents actually collaborate each other to work on a more complicated tasks. And these are generally recommended for more complicated use cases. And it's also easier to set it up. So let's actually go to add new. And from here, you would be in the interface of Flowise. And from here, you will have the start node. And when you add node here is actually click on this plus button. And from here, you can click on different nodes. There's more complicated nodes. There's custom functions, condition agent. We don't need to worry about that for now. We may cover this in the later video. For now, all you have to do is you drag this agent node, which is the bread and butter of this system. Just drag it into the canvas. And all you have to do is to connect between the start node and the agent, right? And just double click on here, and that's where you can customize what the agent is. And from here, you can just name it. I'll just call it demo contract, right? And then you would choose your own AI model. And for simplicity, I'm just going to go with ChatGPT, which is Chat OpenAI, just click on that. I'll explain to you in the end of this video what's wrong with this, but I'm just going to, for simplicity, just go with that. And from here, you will click on parameters and you want to create your own OpenAI API key, right? I've already got mine set up, so I'm just going to head and choose my own API key. And from here, I can just choose my model. I'm just going to choose 4.1 million for now. From here, temperature. The temperature describes how deterministic or random you want your AI output with. If you want something more creative, like content creation, you want it to be higher. But if you want, in our use case, you actually want to provide extremely accurate information about the contract, so that's why we would use a lower temperature, something like 0.05, for example. And from here, I wouldn't worry too much about the rest. I will just leave it for now. And the most important thing is you can set up a system prompt. So think of system prompt as basically instructions to the agent. For now, it's using the GPT module, which has been trained on the internet on a bunch of different general data, right? But again, the reason why we want to build this custom chatbot is because we want it specifically to use for our projects, right? So our use case. So you need to give the AI very specific instructions on how you should behave, on how you should act. I'm just going to put in a very simple system prompt. You are a contract assistant on a property buying, property purchase project. Your role is to assist our team members in understanding the contract and provide accurate information related to this project. It is vital that you do not provide false information. If you do not know something, say you don't know, say you don't. A very simple prompt. Very simple. Of course, you can extend it, but for now, it's good enough, right? I'm just going to say you're a contract assistant for property purchase project. So you give it a role. Your goal, what the task is to assist our team members in understanding the contract, right? By accurate information. Obviously, you can take it. If you want to take it a step further, please go ahead. This is just very simple prompt output. And for now, it's good enough. No, now, remember what I said. We want the goal of this project is to actually have the agent to be able to reference to the contract permanently, right? And how do you do that? Well, I'm just going to add something called document store. So what this does is upload PDF and actually translate into a numerical format, which we call a vector database, and we save that permanently into a database. So whenever we chat to the chatbot, the AI chatbot will always be able to reference to this document store, aka the contract, and be able to provide kind of this accurate information back to us. So I'm just going to go ahead and add knowledge or document store. And the way you do that in Flowise is actually you need to create your own kind of document store. And let me just kind of duplicate this tab. And the way that you want to do that is you actually go back. And from here, you can see documents. And if you want to create a new one, I'm just going to click on create new. I'm just going to call it contract, right? And I'm going to click, and I'm going to double click on here. Now, the first thing I'm going to do is add a document loader. So I'm just going to click on add document loader. And from here, there's so many different things you can add on. You can add Vipro, Google Drive, Google Sheet, GitHub, document file, Airtable, like CSV, so many different things. For now, I'm just going to click on the easiest document loader, which is PDF. And for now, I'm just going to upload the contract. So I'm just going to download this file and I'm just going to upload this file contract. And I'm just going to select one document per page. And from here, there's select text splitter. So I'll just click it none for now. But in a production ready situation, you will want to explore different text splitter. I'll explain to you in a bit why this is important. But for now, just click none. And I'm just going to go ahead and click on preview chunks. So what is actually happening, you may ask? Well, actually what happens is the AI actually divides this document into different chunks. Think of each chunk being a small section within this PDF. Now, you might think, well, why can't I just copy paste the entire document and just plug it into the model, right? But the reason is because each model has something called context window. Each context window basically limits how much information you can provide to the LM every time. Every time you call it, every time you talk to it, there's only a limit. There's a limit on how much information it can process. And that's, I think, the easiest way to think of chunks. And that is exactly why we need to divide the entire contract into different chunks. So how this search works, or what we call RAG. RAG stands for Retrieval Augmented Generation. So what that actually means is every time, once it's divided into chunks and stored as vector within the vector database, every time you ask the questions, that question is translated to a vector, and it's going to go ahead and search for semantic search, which means that it's going to find which chunk is actually most related to the questions that I just asked. If let's say the second chunk is the most related to the question I just asked, it's going to go ahead and retrieve the second chunk back to the LLM, and the LLM the model will be able to turn this chunk and use that as reference to help generate a response. Right? Happily daps. And back to why do we need text splitter? Well, right now it's just kind of chunking it into bite size, right? So every, let's say 500 characters, I'm going to do it in one chunk, 500 characters, one chunk, one chunk. So if you literally imagine in this document, this is one chunk, and then government, and then body, the seller, blah, 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 blah. And then I'll just say assign, this is the second chunk, and then in relation to Do you see the problem is? Well, the problem is it basically divides it into multiple chunks, but the chunks can be mid-sentence or it's halfway through an important concept, right? So that means that if I just divide it naively into these 20 chunks, there might be a disconnect in meaning between the first chunk and the second chunk because they might be related. Now, the way that it's divided, when it's doing the retrieval, it's gonna lose the meaning or the relationships between the two chunks. That's why we have this text splitter, especially recursive heritage text splitter, which basically saying that we have some sort of chunk overlap so that between the first chunk and the second chunk, we at least have some sort of overlaps that preserve the entire meaning of this document. That is why we normally have it to have some sort of character text splitter. So let me go ahead and click preview, and it sounds good. 6 to 7 chunks, and I'm gonna head and click process. And once it's processed, it's still processing. And from here, you can preset, you can preview, you can do any charts. But what I'm gonna do straight away is let me actually just go ahead and refresh that. It can take a while. Okay, it's done. And I'm gonna head and click upsert charts. Now, remember, it's now divided into charts, but we need to translate these different pieces within the PDF into a vector database, right? So I'm gonna go ahead and choose an embedding. An embedding is a function that takes this text-based chunks into a vector within a vector database. And the different embedding model you can choose, I'm just going to stick with the standard one, which is the OpenAI embeddings. And the one that I like using, the quite standard, is just text embedding 3 small, right? And you just, by the way, need to connect to your OpenAI API key, as with before. Dimensions, I'll talk to you later in a bit. Next thing, you need to select your vector store. There's so many different options here. There's Astra, Chroma, there's Pinecone, there's Postgres. I like to use between Postgres and Pinecone, but Pinecone is easy to set it up, so I'm just going to call Pinecone for that. And from here, you need to select your Pinecone API. So the way that you do that is you go to pinecone.com and you're going to sign up for the account and everything. Well, I'm not gonna talk too much about that. And once you create a Pinecone account, you should have access to the interface. And the way you do that is you go to API keys and you click on create API key and you give a name and you create your API key and you just copy this API key into this credential, right? I'm just going to go ahead and choose my API key, Pinecone index. So the way that Pinecone works is you go ahead and click on database and you will need to create an index. Each index is basically, think of it like a separate database where it will store a different project. So I'm just going to go ahead and create index. I'm just click demo. I'm just going to click, because I already created one for contract. I'm just click contract 2 and configuration. Here you will need to select your embedding model. Remember, it's important that you match the embedding model, aka the function to translate words to vector, with the same embedding model that you used when you select the embeddings, right? Because you need to use the same function. It needs to be consistent. So I'm just going to go ahead and create text embedding 3 small. Now the dimensions, generally, I like to use 1536, and this is important because dimension in your embedding, has to match the one that you use for the vector store. So from here, I need to enter the vector, which is 1536, right? Just to match the dimensions. From here, just keep everything as it is. I'm just going to keep and create index. This will create the database to store the vectors. Now you have the index name, contract 2, right? I'm just going to copy that and I'm going to put that into the contract index, contract 2. The rest, you can pretty much ignore it. And for now, this is done. This is it. That's all you need to do. Record Manager, this is kind of optional. If you have a more advanced Postgres database setup, you can choose to do that. But for now, we just ignore it. All Record Manager does is basically kind of to avoid duplication, to avoid you kind of uploading the same chunk twice. Because what it does is basically keep a record, hence Record Manager. It keeps a record of what specific chunk you have uploaded into the vector database. For now, I'm just going to skip it. I'm just going to click upsert. You can see it added 67 chunks, right? And you can see all the chunks that is uploaded to Pinecone. And if I go back to Pinecone, you should see now you've got all these different new chunks that just been uploaded from Flowise. And congratulations, you've just built your own vector knowledge base or vector database. And these basically contains permanent information about the contract of this document specifically. And now I'm just going to click ahead and click close, right? This is done. And I'm just going to save the configurations and I'm going to go back, right? It's done for now. So now if I go back to my chatbot, I should be able to, call my document store. Now you see a contract, which is the one that we just had. And you need to kind of give a described knowledge. So I'll just say this is the contract we signed for this property purchase project, right? This is just short description. And now we've done it. We've set up a knowledge base that the chatbot has reference to, and that's it. That's all it is for setting up this chatbot. So I'm just going to click the tick, and now congratulations, you've built your own very contract chat, right? So I'm just going to go ahead and talk to it and see what happens. It might take a while to load for the first time. Actually, I should probably save this first. Just control this contract agents, save, and then talk to it like, go, hey there, how can I help? And just say, hey, what's the conflict rate? There you go, it's 4%. And there we have it. We've successfully built the chatbot. Now you might ask, wait, hang on a minute. How do you do where did the citations go? Not to worry too much. You can actually change that within the chatbot, which all you need to do is click on return source document. This will actually give you the citation. Go ahead and save it and talk to it again, right? I'm just going to clear chat history and talk to it again. What's the contract rate? And there you go. That is the citation. And there you go. This is your own first chatbot, very simple chatbot, knowledge-based chatbot being done within Flowise. And by the way, if you also want to set some sort of configurations, you can do that and click on here. And if you want to click on file upload, you'll just need to enable that. Click on this button, file upload, save it again. And now you can see this button here where I can upload my own files. This is how I was able to upload the spreadsheet into the Flowise chatbot. Hopefully this has been helpful in setting up your own first AI chatbot, but promise two limitations. One, within your company, you need to have a very strong control of which employees have access, a green light basically, to access this tool. This is very important for confidentiality. Something to keep in mind in the production ready settings. Secondly, we're now using GPT modules. But as we know, we don't want to be using these OpenAI LLMs because, don't want them to, take control of your data or have some sort of access to your data. Basically, this is completely confidential. I know that within OpenAI API, you can sign some sort of deals with them, some sort of contract with them about data confidentiality. But if you want to be safe, you can go ahead and choose your own open source model, something like Llama, for example, or something like Llama, for example, as an example, right? So again, it's all about how much control, how secure you want your data to be. So again, this is some things that you need to keep in mind in production in the same thing. Obviously, you can extend this so much more. You can have access, you can have access to some sort of the deals information. You can have much more different contracts. You can have a bunch of different documents. You can try to extend this to as much as you want. But this is just a small overview about this chatbot. But yeah, this has been the tutorial. And if you actually want to extend this and want to build something similar or even chatbot or some sort of AI applications for your business, we're more than happy to help. So please feel free to book a completely free 30-minute discovery call with me and my team so we can actually look into your business and try to implement similar systems, AI systems for your businesses. But yeah, this has been very helpful. And if you guys enjoyed this kind of tutorial, if you want me to do more Flowise tutorial, let me know in the comments. This is something that's quite exciting too. There's also another tool that I really want to do a tutorial of, which you will see probably either later this week or next week. And yeah, I'll see you in the next one.